Thanks everybody for joining our Sunday, a beautiful Sunday here in Ottawa, sunny and looking forward to the rest of the day. But thanks for joining us. So today's topic is recruitment, how to stand out in a crowd of candidates. As I know, discussed before, this call is going to be recorded and streamed over social media and YouTube for reference and further impact for other folks. So if you're not comfortable being streamed or recorded, please leave the session now. So this community is going to help you boost your networking, your knowledge, practice, and skills. So, stay around. And if you're comfortable sharing your LinkedIn profile in the chat and connect with others who shared their LinkedIn profile, that will help you grow your network. We work to help see everyone in a job they love, as well as find and use your full potential. So the call, Eleni is gonna speak, for 30 minutes or so. It's gonna be collaborative, so you feel free to ask questions during her speech. We ask you just to limit your questions to 2 minutes, just to leave a chance for other attendees to give or ask questions. At the end of the call, we'll have a survey. It's 1 minute form that you need just to fill. We want to hear your voice. We want to learn what did you like and how we can work to serve you better in future calls. We take a group selfie at the end of the call with the speaker and others for marketing purpose and also as a memory. This whole community is all about volunteering. Nobody is paid here, thanks to everybody's time and energy. So if you're comfortable, providing kudos and recommendations to the speaker at the end of the call through LinkedIn, that helps you and helps the speaker as well, getting visible in the space. So our promise, if you keep showing up, if you keep learning, if you keep, using what you learn here, you will get hired within 3 to 6 months, maybe less. Again, depending on how active you are, how comfortable applying those learnings. So just ask questions, be curious, teach others, and learn from speakers and guests as well. Sometimes attendees share their experience, which become more stronger, more powerful as well. So our goal is, ambitious. We know it's tough time with COVID. Some people are not working. We want to help 1,000+ people get hired in 2021. And if you're hired, please share the news. We like to congratulate you, and we like to celebrate that with you. We already have 8+ people from this community who got hired in the last few weeks. So that's a good indication that this is working. So come again and join those calls. Our ask again is usual, just connect with others, subscribe to the YouTube channel, lots of different topics, speakers, and things that you could benefit in your journey. Engage and ask questions, be curious, and share what you learn with others. This will help you grow as well. So coming up, next Thursday is going to be delivered by a financial advisor who will give you a sort of financial literacy session about the 5 tips to maximize wealth. This is equally important for job seekers and employees as well. And so this will help you learn about what you could do to benefit your financials well and grow in that space. And next Sunday, we'll have the first 90 days. This is a session that will show you what you could do in your first 90 days when you get hired. This is a very important session, and it could help you in your interview as well. If you have that vision of what you could do in the first 90 days, with the interviewer, this show that you're really ready for the hire. So all those sessions will be shared in the Eventbrite, Facebook, and LinkedIn group for you to register. So again, today's topic, recruitment, how to stand out in a crowd of candidates. The objective is what you should do in an interview, what you shouldn't do in an interview, what you should do after an interview, and what soft skills to work on when preparing for an interview. Our speaker, Eleni, is currently working as an internal recruiter for a SaaS startup called Rewind. Rewind specializes in backup, copy, restore of companies' SaaS and cloud data. Eleni began her career in the finance sector, working at TD and Scotia Bank as teller, then moved in software sales before becoming a recruiter. Over the last 5 years, Eleni gained extensive experience in both public and private sector recruiting. With that, I will hand it over to the amazing Eleni. Thank you.
Awesome.
The floor is
Thank
yours.
you so much. Let me share my screen here. Awesome. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So I guess I'll just give a quick intro on how Ahmed and I know each other. I think it was back in, 2016, probably, 2016 or 17 maybe. I actually recruited Ahmed for a contract work as a project manager at PwC, and we've stayed in contact, I think, every year since. Again, I heard about this amazing initiative that Ahmed had put together, and I'm so grateful and happy that you asked me to be a part of it. Awesome. So we'll jump right into it. So today my topic is how to stand out in a crowd of candidates. So the agenda, we'll go a little bit through who I am, today's job market, where to look for jobs, what you should invest in, who you should connect with, what recruiters and hiring managers want to see, interview etiquette, salary expectations, what to stay on the lookout for, and what to do once you get the job. So a little bit about me again. Ahmed pretty much just gave the full rundown. My name is Eleni. I'm an internal recruiter currently working at Rewind, which is a SaaS startup. I started as a teller in the finance sector at TD and Scotia. Then I moved into software sales at 2 SaaS companies. And like Ahmed said, over the last 5 years, I've gained extensive experience in public and private sector recruiting. So essentially today I'm going to be giving you pointers on my personal opinion and experience on how I believe it's best to enter the Canadian job market. So about me, what do I do as a recruiter? So some people know what recruiters do, some people don't. But essentially what I do is I meet with our hiring managers. I go through our hiring plan for the year. We do intake forms, essentially going over the description of the roles, the salary of the roles, when we're looking to hire for these specific roles, and any details, they feel like I would need to make a great job posting. So the next step, what I do is I post a job on job boards. So LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster, Workopolis. And then once the job is posted, we let it sit for a few days. We get applications in. I am the one that sorts through the applications. And then for the harder roles, I will do direct sourcing. So either reach out to people on LinkedIn, reach out to my network, go through Indeed, resumes, pretty much whatever I need to do to find the great candidate for the role. Next, I pre-screen the applicants. So I am the one, essentially, I like to call myself the gatekeeper, and I decide if the candidate or the individual moves on to meet the hiring manager. The next is I sit in on all the steps of the interview process. So from the first pre-screen and that initial connection until an offer is sent out, I am involved in every single process of the hiring process. And then lastly, I am the one that negotiates the salary with the candidates. So today's job market. So 8% of Canada is unemployed. So when you think about that, out of 100 people, 8 of them don't have jobs. Doesn't seem like a lot of people because it's not a lot of people. Canada, honestly, has a really great employment rate, which means that obviously the competition is a bit more fierce because there's so many people that are currently working. So 26% of Canada's workforce is made up of landed immigrants. So again, that's a good chunk, but definitely we see as more people are immigrating to Canada, it's becoming much higher as the years go on. COVID has essentially turned all non-essential jobs fully remote, which again is great for people that might not live in the city of the job they're applying for. Companies have started outsourcing more to agencies, essentially recruiting agencies or staffing agencies, because there is a shortage of talent because most people are working. And then lastly, companies are more open to international experience due to the nationwide talent shortage. So right now, there are surprisingly more jobs than there are people to service them. So today's job market in IT. So these are just some roles that I pulled from a survey for Randstad of kind of what the top IT roles are. I used to do IT recruiting. Now I've moved over to sales, marketing, and finance, but I still do work very closely with our R&D recruiter currently at Rewind. And I think definitely these are probably true to our own company as well, kind of the IT roles we're looking for. So developer, software engineer, IT project manager, IT business analyst, database analyst, quality assurance analyst, security analyst and architects, BSAs, and network engineers. So where should you be looking for these roles? So again, obviously, because everything is remote, a lot of companies are posting, and like our company as well, Rewind, remote within Canada. So instead of just looking for a pool of candidates within Ottawa, now we have the capability to reach all across the nation. So we have current people that work in Vancouver, we have Montreal, we even have a few people over in Europe as well. We have Kitchener, Waterloo, Quebec City, Edmonton, Calgary. So again, being on the recruiting side, I definitely have felt kind of a breath of fresh air now that we have a new pool of candidates to dig into. And even if you don't, or you do have Canadian experience, just the fact that you'll be able to, let's say, work out of Ottawa, but service a job that is out of Toronto, again, is just going to open up that net a lot of what you're going to be able to do. So another thing, again, I always think like Toronto is such a great place to start looking for jobs outside of Ottawa, only because it has such a large private sector essentially. So what that means is a lot of the time, private sector jobs, you don't need a security clearance for. So Ottawa, as we know, is a very, very government-driven city. And a lot of the time you will require security clearance to have any job in the public sector. So with security clearance, unless you are a permanent resident of 5 years or a citizen, and depending again where you're emigrating from, it's very hard to obtain. I think it took me about probably 2 months to get mine, and I'm a Canadian born citizen. So again, with COVID and everything being backed up and backlog, the public sector roles are, I would say, definitely a little bit harder to get. So if you are looking to move into the IT space in Canada, I definitely suggest maybe starting off in the private sector to start off with, just because it's probably going to be easier to get a job.
Yeah, and some of our audience are from Nova Scotia or the Atlantics and Toronto as well. So not so many people in Ottawa. So
for sure. No, that's awesome. And again, coming from like the East or West Coast, more the East Coast again, there's, again, I'm not going to say not as many opportunities, but more of the IT opportunities are most likely based out of like Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto. So the fact, again, we always talk about like the downside of COVID, but one of the pluses of COVID that I find, or as a recruiter, is definitely that, again, we get to get talent from all over this great nation. So that's great to hear. So where to look for jobs. So again, everything that I'm saying is kind of my own personal spin and just things that I've gathered through my experience. So these are my top 3 job boards. So number 1 definitely is LinkedIn. I think I've received 4 job offers just based off people connecting with me on LinkedIn. It's honestly a very effortless site if you know how to use it. So the perks of LinkedIn: new jobs are posted daily. There's visibility for mutual connections. So if you're looking to work at Microsoft and you see, oh, Ahmed's my connection at Microsoft, you already have that, I'll say, the foot in of knowing someone that works in the company, which is always great. You have the visibility for internal staff. So that means you have access to pretty much their whole roster of staff as far as the HR side of things as well. So you'll be able to see who the HR director is, or hiring manager, or recruiter, talent acquisition specialist. Often LinkedIn obviously has a link to the company website. So sometimes you apply for jobs just because you like the job description, but you might not know anything about the company. So again, it's nice because you have that link right to the website. They'll also often have links to multiple roles in the jobs tab. So again, I don't think there's an issue with applying to more than one job, but I think being intentional with the jobs you're applying to definitely matters. Again, I've seen candidates apply to 6 or 7 jobs that range from anywhere from customer service representative to VP of marketing. So make sure that if you are going to apply to more than one role for a specific company, that you are being intentional and that you are qualified to carry out the role. Another thing I've learned about LinkedIn is it's definitely more niche roles. So a LinkedIn post, again, depending on how popular it is or kind of how niche it is, can cost anywhere between like $200 and $2,000 to post on LinkedIn, depending on the longevity of the post. So a lot of companies go to LinkedIn because of the exposure for these niche roles, and again, because they want to see the return on investment on the money that they're spending. Again, like I said earlier, it allows you to connect directly with staff. So do your research, look at what the org looks like on LinkedIn, and see who you really should be connecting with. And then the last thing on LinkedIn that I really love is it shows you how many applicants have applied to the roles. Now, why is that important? I personally think it's important because if you're looking at a role that has 300 applicants, but it's been posted for 31 days, chances are they've already started interviewing, they've already started recruiting, and they potentially could be at the offer stage with candidates. Now, again, that's a maybe, coulda, shoulda, woulda. We're not 100% sure. So I always say go ahead and apply for it anyway, but just to manage your expectations as the candidate, that again, it probably is a little bit further. So I like to always say, just as a rule of thumb, again, look for roles that have been posted within the last 2 weeks and under 50 employees, because that normally means you will be at least viewed or considered for kind of their first round of interviews. So again, definitely do apply to the roles that have like a plethora of candidates, but just know that they're probably a bit further in their interview stage. So the next platform is Indeed. Again, like LinkedIn, Indeed has new jobs posted daily. LinkedIn has an easy apply button as well. Indeed has an easy apply button. Be very careful with the easy apply button. And the reason that I say this is because a lot of the time, LinkedIn now has this feature, it didn't used to, but you can just upload your bare resume, like your generic stock resume, and you can just continuously apply to as many jobs as you want. Definitely time consuming, but it doesn't allow the recruiter or the interviewer to really see a customized resume. So like I said, definitely be wary of using the easy apply. If it's for a very specific or niche role, I would go ahead and kind of make those customizations and then upload that resume into your profile of LinkedIn or Indeed and attach it to the easy apply that way. Indeed, I personally find has more entry-level roles than LinkedIn. The cost to post the roles are less as well for the companies. So if you're looking for like a customer service representative role, or I call them the blue collar, white collar jobs, which just mean a little bit less seniority on the hierarchy of the company. So again, I think Indeed is a great place to look for kind of entry-level roles. Also, they post tons of volunteer opportunities again. So if you're not comfortable kind of entering the job market full force, or you're looking for something part-time to just acclimate yourself to the Canadian workforce, definitely check out the volunteer opportunities. Another thing that I love about Indeed, and LinkedIn has it sometimes, not always, is that the salary is often posted. So again, I always say to myself, everything that we buy in life, cars, food, a book, they all have a price tag on them, but often employers don't put salaries. So it's definitely nice that Indeed does integrate salaries more often than LinkedIn does in the posts. Now, the downside of Indeed, it doesn't show how many applicants. You do still see how many days the role's been posted for, but unfortunately, you don't get to see how many applicants are posted. And then another pro, in my opinion, is that it's a much faster response time than LinkedIn. So a lot of people have their LinkedIn notifications shut off. So they'll only get it if they're in the app or if they log into LinkedIn on a desktop, whereas Indeed normally comes as an email. So again, even my own response times, I respond faster to Indeed than LinkedIn because it goes right into my inbox. So the third platform that I chose, and again, people are probably going to ask like, oh, that's so random. I had no idea that Glassdoor posted jobs. Most companies actually do push the majority of their postings through Glassdoor. And it's a key feature and a free feature on a lot of the applicant tracking systems that companies use these days. It also allows you to read real reviews from current and past employees. So again, joining a company is stressful enough, but joining remote where you don't get to see an office, you don't get to meet everyone, you want to be doing your research and your due diligence to make sure that it's the kind of culture that you want to be a part of. And then again, for Glassdoor, I'd probably say the most accurate salaries, again, because they're coming from right from the horse's mouth of current and past employees. So what I think you should invest in. So pretty much these 5 points are what I think any candidate, whether they're coming from overseas or they're already in the Canadian job market, what you should invest in. So learning how to write a resume. Again, I touched on that before. Don't use the same resume for all applications. There's so many free tools, whether it's YouTube, whether it's reaching out to your network or even hiring someone for a small fee, or even if you can find someone to do it for free, that's even better. But learning how to write a resume, learning what the layout should look like, learning how much detail and content you should be putting in your resume, because the resume essentially is your first impression. When I connect with a candidate, the first thing that I see is their resume, and that's what I go off of. Basically, is this person displaying their knowledge and their skill set in a way that is digestible, and is it clean and concise and to the point? So the next thing that I think everyone should invest in is interview preparation workshops or webinars. Again, doesn't have to come at a cost. I know Ahmed, again, has a bunch of amazing people in his network that I'm sure he'd be more than happy to connect anyone with. But making sure that you are doing interview preparation, whether that's just sitting down with a family member or a friend and doing mock interviews. You'd be surprised how many candidates, again, don't kind of do that preparation, and you can really see it and hear it in their responses. So the next point, English language training. If it's not your first language, or if you're just hoping to improve your skills, again, we're not in person. It's going to be either over the phone or over video. So again, that's another barrier to communication that will be working against you most likely. So definitely, if English isn't your first language, try and do whatever you can to make yourself more comfortable. Maybe that's just listening to audiobooks, anything to kind of get those hard skills going in your head on pretty much how to carry yourself and have that etiquette when it comes to business conversations. Next, a professional looking headshot. So not a professional headshot by any means. I know a lot of them do cost a lot of money, but even just on an iPhone or a cell phone against a solid background with a nice shirt. Again, if I go on LinkedIn and I see a candidate and they have a picture from 2016 from their Christmas party with a glass of champagne in their hand as their profile picture, honestly, I'm not going to disqualify them, but it doesn't have that much of a professional appearance. So just make sure that, again, you look polished, nice shirt, solid background. And I know often, and I don't know if this is a new immigrant to Canada thing. I know both my parents are immigrants, and everyone wants to use their passport pictures as their picture. If that's what you have for the time being, feel free to use it. But when you get an opportunity, like I said, I definitely think investing in a good headshot is worth it. And then lastly, be prepared to invest your time in research. So research the role, research the company, the culture, and find the Canadian equivalent of your overseas roles to highlight similarities. So if you are applying to a role at TELUS here, find a similar company in whatever country you're coming from that provides the same sort of support or product or whatever service you're applying to. So then even if the hiring manager or the recruiter hasn't heard of the company you've worked for, it paints them a better mental picture of kind of where you came from and what the culture and kind of workforce was in the previous country that you're working in. So who you should connect with. So again, today's day and age, I find it hilarious because there's so many different titles that individuals like to give themselves, but these are just a few of the ones that I've seen most recently in the HR space. So connect with recruiters, human resource specialists, human resource coordinators, human resource managers, talent acquisition specialists, talent acquisition managers, talent acquisition coordinators, people and culture coordinators, and then any of the managers in the departments you're applying to. So if you are applying for cybersecurity, go onto LinkedIn, look at the organization and look and find, okay, this is a senior director, or this is a hiring manager, or this is a team lead. The more people within the company that know your name throughout the interview process, the better. And I have hiring managers all the time. I'll push over a resume to them and they'll say, oh yeah, like they just connected with me on LinkedIn today. So seeing that initiative again from the hiring manager side, I think will always kind of be a benefit to all the candidates. So what recruiters want to see. So again, this is just from my personal experience as a recruiter, what I've seen, what I've liked, and what I think are kind of the most important things to demonstrate when you're having conversations. So first and foremost, like I touched on, a customized resume highlighting your skills for the role you're applying to. So making sure, again, it's not just that stock, dear sir and ma'am, long cover letter, just kind of going over your general skills. Like make sure that it's very intentional, the resume that you're using to apply. know the job description you're being interviewed for and why you'd be a good fit. So another thing, again, just from my own experience, I have candidates that I get on a call with, and right away I can tell that they haven't really read the job description, because they always say, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the job description and the company. And for me, if you're applying to a job, you should know the job description. The company, I'm more than happy to disclose, and I'm more than happy to go over the job description as well. But make sure, even if you take an hour or two just to review it and ask any questions that you might have surrounding that, definitely take the time to do that. Third, come prepared with questions for the recruiter. So again, I see this more often than none. At the end of a 30-minute call, I'll ask the candidate, so do you have any questions for me? And they'll simply reply with, no, you answered all my questions. And I think to myself, it's such a big decision to choose where your next opportunity is going to be. So not having any questions is, like, again, a concern for me, because I'm thinking, how does this individual just trust everything without kind of deeper diving and asking those questions? So it's okay if the recruiter throughout the interview process has answered some of your questions. Let them know, say, I did have that question, but you've already gone ahead and addressed that. But definitely I would say have some questions in your pocket, even if they do answer all of them. Have maybe a few tougher ones that you can ask. 4, research the company and you're somewhat knowledgeable about what they do and any recent media exposure. So the company that I work for, we just did our Series A funding raise for 20 million Canadian. And I love, even though it's super repetitive, when I get on a call with any of the candidates and they say, congratulations on the raise, because that makes me feel already that they've given the time, they've taken time out of their day to research kind of what we're doing in the vertical that we work in. And any kind of media exposure, again, should be top of whatever company page that you're looking at. So it should be really easy to access. And then number 5, that you've researched the Glassdoor reviews. Again, I love hearing from any applicant or candidate, oh, I researched on Glassdoor and your reviews are amazing. Or I've even had some people say, I've researched Glassdoor and the reviews were a bit concerning. Can you speak to this? So hopefully the companies have amazing Glassdoor reviews, but some of them, again, depending on the size and depending on the culture, you might run into a few of them that don't have great reviews. So I thoroughly like and enjoy when candidates ask, like, what do those bad reviews, or where did they come from? And again, if I can speak to them, then I'll definitely address that. So what hiring managers want to see? So again, this is just from what I've seen working with upwards of probably 50 hiring managers at this point. So be able to fully explain and walk them through your previous experience. So it's one thing, again, to have a resume, a beautiful, beautiful resume, but you need to make sure that you can speak to the points and the experience within the resume. Number 2, be able to elaborate on failures and accomplishments in your past roles. So historically, one of the questions has been that every recruiter asks, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? The questions that I ask, instead of what are your personal strengths and weaknesses, I ask, what were your failures in your past roles and what were your accomplishments? And I think for hiring managers and recruiters, it really gives them a more in-depth look at not only kind of the level of experience you have based on the situations that you've been put in your past roles, but also how you essentially can explain your failures. A lot of people don't like talking about their shortcomings or failures or what they're not good at. But if you're able to kind of pinpoint not so much failures, but what you need to work on and to be able to articulate that, then that can also give the hiring manager a good idea of, if they were to bring you on, what they would need to work on with you. And maybe it's something that you're weak at that they have strength in, or vice versa. So definitely being able to properly articulate the failures and accomplishments, I believe, is very important. Number 3, being able to answer situational questions about the company's current pain points.
Sorry,
Ahmed.
sorry, just to maybe interrupt you here. So for the failures and the strengths, this is a little bit sensitive area, and it's sometimes very tough, how open we could be as job seekers to share our failures, and sometimes we could try to make our failure like a success, and again, definitely that's not the good approach maybe. So what do you think should be the best approach? Being vulnerable, being very open, what exactly would you recommend here?
For sure. So definitely I would say stay on the more professional and refined side. When you talk about your failures, I definitely would stick to situational failures in a specific job. So if they say, give us an example of a time that you didn't succeed in something, give them just like a snippet again of something that you might have struggled with. So if I was going to use myself as an example and that question was asked to me, I would say, something that I did have a hard time with in a previous role, or I'll just say in my last role, was time management. I found it was very hard for me to multitask because of the workload that I was given. I was the only recruiter at the time, and I felt at a certain point that the quality of my work was being compromised because of how much like how heavy the load was. So again, you're not fully saying you're terrible at something or that you failed at something, but you're recognizing it's somewhere that you could improve. And again, not saying it in a very like negative or down way, just saying like exactly what it was without kind of getting, again, like talking yourself down. So definitely I would leave it a surface level. Don't be too vulnerable. And if you've been let go from a job, I'm not going to say don't say that you were let go, but I think like use a situational experience like before you decide to go down that route.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So third, be able to answer situational question about the company's current pain points. So again, companies are hiring a lot of the time because not only do they need workers, but there's things changing every single day. And with change, obviously comes pain points. So a lot of the questions that we ask at Rewind are real problems that we're having. So we would say, let's just say to a sales individual, what would you do to ensure that if you don't have a pipeline full of potential clients, like what would you go out of your way to do, or how would you set yourself up for success? And make sure that you're thinking about those before the interview, because a lot of people don't know those answers before they're asked them. So take some time, research again the company, kind of see how quickly they're growing, how fast they're hiring, how many people they're hiring, because again, probably the pain points are going to come into play at some point, and making sure that you have answers that you're comfortable responding with is going to make all the difference in the delivery. Number 4, be able to clearly link your past experience with the role and the aspects you consider to be an asset if they were to hire you. So again, kind of going back to being able to elaborate on your accomplishments, be able to say in 2016, I did a big data migration doing this, 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 and this. That is why I believe for the migration that you all are looking to hire for, I believe I would be an asset. So take your real life experience and link it to whatever they're looking to hire for. And then number 5, honesty. And the reason that I say that is because, again, today's day and age, there's so many job opportunities, but a lot of them, you're not going to be skilled with everything. Like you might have 10 of the 15 points that the hiring manager or the company's asking for, and be honest about that. Richard Branson says, take the role and learn it later. 100% I agree with that initiative, but also make sure it's a job that you can actually do. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. You don't want to be into a role in 3 months looking for a new job because maybe you oversold your skills. So make sure that you're honest. And that goes both ways. Don't undersell your skills as well. If you can do something and you're at that seniority level that you can completely knock that task out of the park, definitely highlight that as well. So this is a bit of a longer slide. So this is interview etiquette. So this is phone etiquette. The next slide will be video etiquette. I want you guys to remember everything from this slide essentially, because we're also going to take these points and we're going to put them into the video etiquette as well. So phone etiquette do's. Have your phone on loud so you don't miss the call. I think by far so many candidates are so excited or they're so nervous, and a lot of the times their phone's on silent. So then when the recruiter or interviewer calls, they miss the call, and then 5-10 minutes spent playing phone tag. So keep your phone on loud. Number 2, find somewhere quiet to take the call. I would much rather a candidate reschedule a phone call than be in somewhere that they're distracted or somewhere loud, because again, it doesn't do you justice, and it doesn't do anyone justice really if you're not able to kind of be in a quiet space that you can focus. So have your phone to your head or headphones, not on speaker. And I know, again, a lot of these calls sometimes can be upwards of 30 minutes. So by default, you don't want to have to hold a phone to your head for 30 minutes, but it does definitely make a difference on the other end of the call. Speaker, I find candidates knock into the speaker or they breathe too heavy and it really distorts the voice. And especially if English isn't your first language as well, you don't want to have any barriers between you and the person you're speaking with. So either phone to head or headsets. Number 4, have water nearby. Again, at the beginning of the interview, most likely the recruiter or the interviewer will be speaking the majority of the time, but then after that, you'll be answering questions. So if you're someone that gets nervous or someone that you feel like you talk fast like I do, definitely have some water nearby. Start all the calls with a polite greeting and thank them for their time. Again, just that little bit of courtesy goes a long way. Make sure you speak clearly and slowly. So again, especially for our candidates that English is not their first language, take a deep breath, make sure that you can feel calm, make sure that you are articulating yourselves in the clearest and slowest way possible as to make sure that none of your points are missed. Number 7, let the recruiter lead the beginning of the call. So I just touched on that previously, but I love eager candidates, but the one thing that does make it hard for recruiters is when the candidate takes over the interview at the beginning of the call, because a lot of the times it changes kind of the organizational structure or the agenda for the call. So listen, let the recruiter lead, and then you'll be prompted specifically just by them saying, okay, like answer these questions or what are your thoughts? So definitely listen as much as you can before the call kind of segues into you leading it. Number 8, listen closely to questions and ask for clarification if you don't understand something. So again, if English isn't your first language, or if the recruiter, maybe the English isn't their first language, or you just don't understand something or the context of what they're asking, ask again. I would much rather a candidate ask me 2 or 3 times even, can you further clarify or can you explain something, rather than them giving me a wrong answer, because once they've given me the wrong answer, there's nothing I can do about it. But if I can maybe reword or change the way that my message is delivered for the candidate to better understand, I'm more than happy to do that. So number 9, answer their questions with detail and intention. So again, I touched on this a bit earlier. Make sure that whatever you're responding with, you're not responding with, if they ask you, what are your strengths? You're not saying my strengths are blah, 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 blah. Make it into a story. Make sure that there's intention behind it. Make sure that you're not adding unnecessary kind of fluff to the conversation. And again, make sure that whatever you're kind of explaining is detailed. Because again, you're not sitting in front of this person. You want to make sure that everything that you want to get across, that you can get across in this phone call. Number 10. So this is kind of around salary. Ask the interviewer at the end of the call what the salary is for the role if they don't disclose it. So again, like I said, I solely believe in posting salaries and being completely transparent about them. I know, again, a lot of companies are against that, which I'm not 100% sure why, but it is what it is. We just have to roll with the punches. So definitely I would feel comfortable with any candidate at the end of the first call to ask what the salary is if we don't disclose it. So again, it's not that I don't like when they ask for this, but as a recruiter or as an interviewer, we should be the ones prompting the salary discussion, asking what the candidate wants. So this is a nice segue into the next question or the next point. Tell them how much money you want. Come with a salary. Don't come with saying I'm open to negotiation. Don't come with saying I want to learn more about the role. At this point, you should have done your research. You should know the company. You should know similar roles. And again, you should know your worth and what your profile is worth. So come with a salary in mind. Next, ask what the steps are of their interview process. So essentially, if you have a first call, we call it our pre-screen. I'm more than comfortable at the end of every call if a candidate asks, so what do next steps look like for the interview? And then moving into asking when the desired start date is. That will also show you when the company is looking to hire for, how serious they are. If they say we're sitting in June right now or May 30th, if they say we're not looking to hire till end of August, beginning of September, right away that should be not a red flag, but a light bulb for you. do not put all your eggs in one basket. You should be actively interviewing for as many roles as you can, because oftentimes August turns to September, which turns to October, and now we've spent 5 or 6 months waiting for a job that we're unsure kind of what that timeline looks like. Next, ask how far in the process they are. So this is going back to kind of the comment that I made about the LinkedIn applicants. Ask how many people they've met with, ask kind of where they are in that process. Are they in the early stages of interviews, mid stages, or late stages? And then also that will gauge for yourself kind of the timeline of what's to be expected as far as the next steps go. If they're in the late stages, it's probably going to be pushed a little bit sooner than the earlier stages. And then if they're in the middle stages, then it's kind of just a waiting game from there. So the next is ask when you should be expecting to hear from them next. So I always encourage candidates to just say, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our call. Just out of curiosity, when should I be expecting to hear something, whether it's good or bad news? And I will always say either end of next week or end of the following week. And again, it's just to manage not only the recruiter's expectations of when you expect to be connected with, but then also for the candidate, it manages their expectations. And then lastly, send a thank you email, because again, I'm assuming that everyone does have their email. And if not, if they just reached out to you on LinkedIn, then maybe send them a nice LinkedIn message. So keeping in mind everything that we just discussed on phone etiquette, now this is about video etiquette. So essentially every single thing from phone etiquette transfers to video etiquette with a few more points. So log into the call 10 minutes early. Always, always, always do this. I love when I'm getting ready for an interview and I get a little email notification that Mary Jo has logged into the call and it's, let's say, 10:50 and the interview's at 11. It shows that you're eager, it shows that you're serious, it shows that you're professional, and it also eliminates any technical issues that could come up. Number 2, test your computer and its microphone and speakers the day before and the morning of your call. So do not just assume that everything's going to work, because 9 times out of 10, something on someone's end is gonna come up and disrupt the interview. So make sure that you are definitely in a position that your technology is working, that you know the microphone is working, your speakers are working, and do it the day before as well as the morning of to make sure that nothing's changed. Number 3, make sure that you turn on your camera even if they don't. The reason I say this is because if no one has their cameras on, it should have just been a phone call. So even if the interviewer doesn't have their camera on, turn it on for yourself. Again, it's going to be able to show the interviewer, the recruiter, hiring manager, whoever it is, how you carry yourself, what you look like, body language. And again, it's just kind of a more human view of who you are. Number 4, looked groomed and put together. So again, we're in COVID, everyone's working from home. Half the time I don't have makeup on, I don't have my hair done, but I have a job right now. So if I was interviewing for a job, I always would make sure that you looked groomed and put together. You have a professional shirt on. So if you're a woman, if you want to wear a blouse or just a solid top, a man, maybe a collared shirt, or just again, kind of a solid long sleeve top. Make sure your hair is combed. If you're a woman and you feel comfortable with makeup, do that. A man, you want to shave, do whatever you can, because the way that we're looking at it is we're bringing somebody onto our team. So even though as soon as you start, you most likely will be able to work in your pajamas, we want you to know that you take the interview process seriously and that you can carry yourself professionally. So again, we kind of touched on the next point earlier, be in a quiet room away from family members, roommates, and animals. Next point, if you do have people around, disclose that at the beginning of the call. Again, people are working from home. People don't have childcare, which is, again, completely understandable. But definitely make sure you disclose at the beginning of the interview that you do have people or a cat or a dog or someone around you, just so during the middle of the interview, it's not a huge shock if a cat kind of walks across your keyboard, which has happened many times in the past, even 3 months for me. Again, people are working from home and we have to be flexible with that. So number 8, try and sit against a solid background. And again, I just say that because the less distraction on your surroundings, the more that the interviewer, recruiter, or hiring manager can focus on you. Number 9, look into the camera, which is kind of a given, but again, you're not in person, you're over video. So sometimes we don't remember that we need to look at the people we're speaking to. And then number 10, make sure the camera is angled properly. And I say that because, again, I've had many candidates only show half their face, or we're looking at the top of their head. So make sure that the camera is angled properly. So interview etiquette don'ts. I'll just kind of run through these ones quick. I know we're running a little short on time. So don't chew gum. Don't. It's just, again, distracting. We already talked. Don't talk on speaker. Don't mute yourself while the interviewer is speaking to you. And again, I know sometimes, especially maybe if there's more than one person in the interview asking you questions, you want to mute yourself because you don't want any background noise to maybe come through. But I do find it really distracting for the candidate to constantly be looking and deciding when they are going to mute and unmute themselves. So just keep yourself off mute. We talked about this kind of earlier. Don't disclose any unnecessary personal information. So again, not a practice that I do, but some recruiters will kind of ask questions that will imply whether you have a family or how old you are, where you live, if you live by yourself. So again, those are all things that as far as HR professionals shouldn't be asked, but sometimes they do get asked. So really only disclose the personal information you're comfortable with or willing to share. Ask for the salary at the beginning of the interview. Again, we touched on that. You should know kind of what the salary in your mind should be. And asking at the beginning of the interview, a lot of the times just kind of makes it look like you're money hungry, unfortunately, as bad as that sounds. Even if you are, just kind of let it sit for a little bit and wait until they've either gone through the first interview or maybe the second interview. Number 6, don't assume that you're going to be moved to the next round. So again, especially coming from overseas, you want to be very intentional with asking the right questions and how you word those questions. So instead of saying, what's the next step, or when am I going to be contacted, or whatever the case may be, I would just say, should I be chosen for the next round? Can you give me an idea of kind of what the next steps look like? So then you're not presuming that you're going to be chosen. You're asking if by chance they do choose to move you on, what the next step is. And I think that's more warm and kind of better taken. Number 7, discuss information not related to the interview. So again, this could kind of be going off onto tangents or stories or anything that essentially is not related to the interview. If the interviewer prompts kind of a more personal question, if they're asking about your dogs or something like that, great. And again, that's nice because it's more holistic and it's more human, but make sure that you're not spending the majority of your time discussing things that aren't relevant to the role. Number 8, email the hiring manager or client without CCing the recruiter. So this is dependent on whether you're working a contract role or a permanent role, but it still kind of applies across the board. If you are working with a recruiter, that recruiter should be kept in the loop in every aspect of the interview process and hiring process. So again, it's happened to me many times where the candidate will just not go above or go behind my back, but sometimes they do, and they'll email the manager asking like what are next steps, or even thanking them for their time. It's just nice and etiquette to have the recruiter CC'd every step of the way. Number 9, be dishonest about whether or not you're interviewing elsewhere. So this one's kind of a double-ended sword, and the reason that I say this is because some candidates don't want it to look like they're not interviewing other places because they think interviewing makes them more sought after. But sometimes saying that they're interviewing elsewhere if they are not will hinder their success in that role that they're applying to. And the reason I say that is because if you're interviewing other places, depending on where that company is in their interview process at the time, they can either disqualify you mentally and say, okay, this person's at late round interviews with 2 other companies and we're at early stages in ours, we're going to go ahead and disqualify them. Or this person is interviewing another place and they're so good, we want to push them through as quick as we can. So always be honest. And if you're not interviewing anywhere else, then say, no, like this is the only place I'm interviewing. And again, for the company, if you're a great candidate, that's great because essentially they have the exclusive first view of your talent and your resume and to meet you. So never say or never think that if you're not interviewing somewhere else, it's going to kind of work against you, but definitely do disclose if you are working or if you are interviewing elsewhere. And then lastly, for interview etiquette don'ts, don't reply with one-word answers. Like I said, have detail and be intentional in your responses because the one-word answers, it's like pulling teeth, honestly, coming from being a recruiter for so long. The people that can kind of paint me a picture of what their experience was without me having to ask are always kind of the best candidates that you want to work with. So moving into salary expectations. So again, I'll kind of run through this quick. I know we're running a little bit late on time, Ahmed, I'm sorry. So the do's: research how much your experience is valued at in today's market. So that means look at your overseas salary, look at the equivalent of the Canadian salary, and use your network to pretty much ask what they think your experience is worth. So whether that's even reaching out to people you don't know that have a role that you're looking to move into, message them, explain your situation. You wouldn't believe how many people are just very open to kind of sharing that info and just say, I'm looking to establish kind of my Canadian salary bracket. Can you give me some ideas? Next, look for 5 to 10 similar roles as the one you're applying for and gather market rates. So if you're applying at TELUS, look at Bell, Rogers, Nokia, or whatever other companies kind of do the same work to make sure that the salary range makes sense. Know your worth, which again, I think kind of encompasses everything in the sense of doing your research and knowing how much your worth is in the Canadian market. Be able to explain why you're asking for the salary. Now, this one is really important because again, obviously with cost of living and COVID and childcare, there's just so many different reasons why people would ask for the salary they're asking for. So I had a candidate ask for 140,000. Our budget was 120. And I said, like, what's the 140? You know what I mean? How did you come up with that? He said, I'm at 125 now. I don't want to be making a lateral move. So I need that differentiator of whatever the X amount was because of cost of living as well. I just built a new house, or I live in Toronto. So if someone's able to justify why they want that salary, again, even if it's not in alignment with what the client or the hiring manager or recruiter is willing to pay, you should be able to explain why you're asking for as much as you're asking for. Next point, be open to negotiating 15% under your initial asking. So the reason that I say that is because money isn't everything. I personally have taken jobs for less money than I was making in a previous role. People make changes for many reasons. A lot of it is now quality of life. I know a lot of people that are willing to take $10,000 or $15,000 less because of the quality of life, whether it's fully remote now or they get an extra week of vacation or XYZ. People are willing to make that kind of that pay cut if they need to, depending on kind of what the perks or what the growth opportunity is within a company. And then salary expectations, again, lastly, to review the company's Glassdoor reviews because they're accurate. So the don'ts for salary expectation: don't lowball yourself. You are worth just as much as any Canadian citizen with any Canadian experience to any company. And again, unfortunately, there already is a bias of not having Canadian experience, but don't lowball yourself because there will be a company that will appreciate the cultural add and the experience that you're going to bring to them. So definitely make sure that you know your worth and that you keep that always at the top of your mind. Don't ask them what their range is. Like I said, always come with a salary in mind. If they don't ask you what your salary is at that last resource, then I would say ask them what the range is. But I don't love when candidates ask that. I wouldn't say you're negotiable without giving a salary range. If you're going to say negotiable, say I'm negotiable within 10% or 15%, but always have a salary in your mind. Don't say you haven't spent much time thinking about it. I have candidates up until this Friday saying, oh, honestly, I haven't thought about it. And I'm thinking, again, if this is a role that you're going to move into and this is going to be your full-time job, how have you not thought about the salary? Next point, say salary is not important to you. Oh, the salary doesn't matter. I just want growth. At the end of the day, salary should be important to you. And a lot of companies, unfortunately, will take advantage of candidates that say that and most likely offer them the lower end of the budget. And then lastly, for don'ts, if you're going to do an application online and fill out a salary in that in the online application, make sure it's true, maybe a little bit skewed from the range that you're going to give when you're in the interview. So 2 weeks ago, I had a candidate in the application ask for 85,000. When we spoke, he said 100 to 110. And I said, where did that extra 25, 30 grand come from? He said, oh, I did research and that's what the market rate is. Well, for me, that research should have been done before you applied to the job, because now not only did he not have a reason for why he was asking for more money, and he actually, unfortunately, so oversold himself. His experience is probably worth on paper about 80 grand, which at the 85, I would have been more than happy making that offer. But when he said the 100 to 110 right away, we weren't going to be able to match that based on his level of experience. So if you're going to have a salary, make sure that you can either stick to that or further explain in detail why you've changed it. So what to stay on the lookout for. So gaps in communication longer than 10 days, unless a timeline has been previously disclosed by the recruiter or the interviewer. Companies that will not disclose salary information after the second interview. If you've gone through 2 interviews and they won't give you the salary, I personally would not continue interviewing with them because again, why were you not going to tell me how much you want to pay me? Third, companies that sell you on a dream of growth opportunities in exchange for a lower salary. So unless you know it's a company that has historically promoted from within or there is legitimate growth opportunity, I would not lower your standards for the salary based on promises that might not be able to be carried out. Low salary, high commission roles. So again, being new immigrants to Canada, a lot of people will take a sales job as their first job, even if they do have IT experience, just to familiarize themselves with the Canadian job market. Again, it's fine to take a lower salary job. I would not do low salary, high commission. A lot of the times the candidate just ends up out money actually, which is sad. An excessive amount of interview steps. So no more than 5 unless they disclose it. If you're on 6 interviews with a company and they haven't given you like an answer, I honestly would just think that the company is probably not as organized as they should be in the interview process. But again, if it's something that it's a company that you're really kind of excited for, stick it out, but it shouldn't be more than kind of 5 steps from beginning to end. Read the Glassdoor reviews. Like I said, you will hear and see so much on Glassdoor, so much more than you'll see during the interview process because it's coming right from the horse's mouth. And then lastly, companies that don't provide feedback. So if you're asking along the interview process for feedback and they're unable to give it to you, or if you didn't get the job and they're unable to provide feedback, not a company that you want to work for. So what to do once you get the job? So first thing I always say is make a 30, 60, and 90-day plan. Be ready to work a little bit of overtime at the beginning to get yourself acclimated and up to speed with the work, the people, the culture. Ask your manager for a list of who you should sync with in the organization if they don't give you one. So essentially ask who you should be connecting with, who you should be learning from, and who the best people are in their specific roles to support you. Be active on the company's chat forums. So whether that's Microsoft Teams or Slack, Skype for Business, message people, get your name out there and get comfortable with them. Know when to use the resources provided and when to ask questions. So if they've given you a huge book to go through and said, read this, read the book. But if they haven't, don't go looking for the information. If it's easier just to ping someone or get on a call, ask the question. And then ask for frequent necessary feedback. So if the company doesn't have regular touch points, which are like weekly or bi-weekly, when you're starting out, feel comfortable to say to your manager, please provide me with coaching or a one-on-one 30 minutes to an hour a week to ensure that you are progressing the way that they want to see you progress. Okay, so the takeaways that I hope that you got from this presentation: do your research, utilize free resources, know your worth, put the time in, work on your hard and soft skills, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And lastly, rejection is part of the journey. I can speak from my own personal experience that rejection is hard, but it makes you stronger and it makes you better. And again, if you don't, every rejection is just closer to that yes that you're going to get. And always use everything that you've taken from the previous interviews and all of that knowledge and apply it to better yourself in the next interview. And thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is
so much longer than I thought. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. This is really great. So if you want to maybe join the camera. Oh, now we can see it. Cool. So we can take the selfie, and maybe again, if anyone wants to stick around to ask more questions. I know, this has been really amazing, Eleni. I really love how you put all those information in very few minutes. And I know you have tons of other, knowledge. So thank you so much for doing that.
My pleasure. And like I said, I'm more than willing to stay on for 20 minutes, 30, whatever everyone wants to discuss. I know I ran it a little bit longer than expected.
No,
Yeah, that'd
that's
be
really
great.
great. It's all valuable. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Okay, so we'll give it maybe a few seconds if anyone else want to join the selfie, and then be ready with your questions. We're still stick around for questions, so I want to see great smile. So when you're ready, awesome, great picture. Okay, so now if anyone wants to come off mute or raise your hand and ask questions, feel free. It's your turn. Eleni is a very, very great, recruiter. She helped me a lot personally, and I'm very grateful that I knew her when I came to Canada.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you
uh,
very much, Eleni. That was a great presentation. Amazing insight.
Thank you.
And I've experienced a lot of the things that you talked about firsthand. So I definitely know what you're saying is completely relative and works. One other thing I just wanted, maybe just a comment here, that might be helpful for the others.
For
is
sure.
That whenever you're doing the interview, and you mentioned it, I think we should be practicing prior, doing mock interviews, that type of thing. And one of the benefits of that is that it's going to instill confidence in yourself, and it's really important to appear confident in front of the interviewer. That goes a long ways, and I'm sure you agree with that.
For sure.
Eleni. Yeah.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you, Ramsey. I think someone wrote in the chat.
Thomas.
can I make just a quick question? You can correct me if I'm wrong.
For sure.
But what do you think about cover letters? Because this is something I haven't
For sure.
didn't talk.
For me
Like
personally,
how much effort should I put comparing cover letters in my resume?
for sure. So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't believe in cover letters. I don't think there's any need for them. As a recruiter, and the recruiters that I know, we don't read cover letters anymore. There is just such a high demand for resumes that I think if you're going to spend time on anything, work on your resume. If you do feel comfortable providing a cover letter, whether that's explaining kind of why you're applying to the job or where you came from or what you're looking to go into, definitely do what you want. But I'm just saying, as a recruiter, I wouldn't stress about getting a cover letter ready if it's something that you don't feel like you need it, because again, the resume is really where the beef of the contents come from.
Okay, thank you. I heard this before actually. I just want to confirm because sometimes when we are applying and we, at least for me, and I see there, oh, you want to apply without a cover letter, and then I was doing something fast, or I'm applying for more than one job,
Yeah.
and then I stop and like, okay, should I take time and write everything, or
I would
should I
honestly
just apply?
Yeah, so I know some applications require a cover letter. To be honest, even when I applied, I just re-put the same link to my resume. I won't go out of my way to do a cover letter unless, again, it's all based on what you feel comfortable with. If you have the time, do it. But if you don't have the time, then I would just simply put your resume in the space of the cover letter as well.
Okay,
Thomas,
thank
thanks.
you.
No worries.
Hassan, do you have a question, or maybe Ramsey, do you have a follow-up question? No.
No.
Sorry, Hassan just wrote one in the chat.
Yeah. Sorry, Sula. Can you answer that question for Sula? There is a question about
I think Hassan asked a question. I'm in the field of SaaS sales. What are the main barriers for newcomer? How to overcome the local? Okay. So SaaS sales is a great vertical to be in, because again, there's so many SaaS companies and there's so much room for growth, whether you're starting as an SDR or as a BDR. So I think what the barriers are going to be are essentially the experienced candidates that are in Ottawa and how much money they're asking for and how much money that they're bringing into companies. So for the SaaS, I would definitely make sure you do your research as far as what you should be asking for salary-wise, as well as total compensation. So OTE, on target earnings. Make sure it's a realistic on-target earning, and make sure that if you are going to be in SaaS sales, it's a product that is going to be easy to sell. Because again, the easier products, the easier they are to sell, the more money the company will make, and the easier it will be for you. So definitely, I would look for a mentor as well in the sales space, because I think mentorship in sales is very important.
Thank you.
And Sula, should you apply for the job if you don't have all the qualifications? Yes, definitely still apply to the job. I would say if you have about 70% of the qualifications, apply for it, maybe even 60-40. Again, I would not do something that you have no clue in kind of what that space looks like. But if it is something that you've done before and there were just a few points that might maybe you're not as familiar with, I would still encourage you to go ahead and apply for that job.
Oh.
Awesome.
Mauricio.
Someone has their hand raised.
Yeah,
Mauricio.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. Yeah, Eleni, I think for the session has been really informative.
Oh, my pleasure.
And my question is about the the experience you may have had that does not relate to the position you're applying for. Should they appear on the resume or not? So, what's your opinion on that?
I think it depends. It depends if you're going to be moving into a different vertical. Like if you're changing industries, I think that would be something that maybe you could tailor the resume more to the new industry you're going into. But I still think with all the experience you have, especially coming from overseas, it will be able to allow the recruiter or the interviewer to kind of see a more robust and kind of a fully rounded view of what your experience is. But if there really is things from, let's say, 15, 20 years ago that have no relevancy, then I would say be comfortable removing those. But don't take out too much of the job. Like the one thing that I don't love is when candidates will take their resume, take all of the information out of it besides the relevant information to the role, because sometimes it leaves questions for the interviewer of, okay, well, how did they go from this role to that role? But in the middle, there was some sort of promotion or transition role that helps them gain more experience. So I definitely think timeline-wise, feel free to take out things from, let's say, 10 years plus or before. But as far as like actual information in your resume, I say definitely keep as much as you can. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
So Hassan, some jobs require to be bilingual. What's your recommendation where to learn French? I am not bilingual. I don't plan on becoming bilingual. French has been the bane of my existence for a long time. But I do encourage, if you can take French courses or you have access to Rosetta Stone, which is a great resource and tool to use to help you learn French. And again, I know that there's some free workshops, free French workshops. There's YouTube, there's so many resources. So whatever you can do to better your skill set, definitely do that. French is a very ambitious language to learn because of all the conjugations and the nouns and the verbs. But again, I think if the job is bilingual and you don't speak French, still apply for it. Disclose that you are not bilingual. But sometimes, again, and I've even run into this, I've been hiring for a bilingual resource and there just wasn't one. So we ended up going with a unilingual resource. So if it says bilingual, still apply and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, and to add to this, YMCA have a free assessment that you can do yearly on your French and English, and they also can offer you classes, I think, for $10 every 3 months. So that's nothing, So just check YMCA in your country or on your city, and they could give you resources.
Yeah.
Awesome, great stuff. Thanks, Eleni. Any other questions? Anyone?
A comment maybe in regards to English, right? So, because I find a lot of people that I've spoken to whose first language is not English sometimes appear less confident, but
Sure.
But they should know that in companies today, it's so multicultural, especially in Canada and Toronto. Every company you work in, you're going to find a lot of people that don't have English as a second language. So it's really common, and don't let that deter anyone from, being confident in going for certain jobs.
Couldn't agree more. Definitely. And again, it really does depend as well what role you're applying for. A lot of the IT-focused roles, you're going to be having internal conversations with your coworkers. A lot of them maybe are not going to be as client-facing. So again, I do know that more of like the sales roles, obviously English is probably going to be weighed a bit more heavy, but more in the IT space, like Ramsey said, be discouraged if English isn't your first language. If you can do the work and you're a kind person and you're hardworking, that is what matters the most. And hopefully the interviewer, the recruiter, can feel that in the conversation.
Yeah, and just as a final note on that one, and I work in IT, so I work with a lot of people that don't have English as their second language. And in fact, a lot of them, and I don't mean to criticize, but their English is really bad. It's even hard to understand them, but they do a good job in their role. And that's the value that they bring to the table. And that's why they were hired. So again, just don't be discouraged.
For sure.
Thank you, Ramsey. Great point. Yeah, for sure. Okay, anyone else? I know Sunday is great to go outside, but I want to just give final chance for anyone if there's any burning questions.
Yeah, otherwise, I know some people are missing today because they went golfing. So
yeah, I said if in a few months he wants me to kind of redo this workshop, I'd be more than happy to run it. Maybe I'll condense it a little bit, but if anyone also does want to message me on LinkedIn or kind of meet for a 15-20 minute chat, I'm more than happy to give my time to anyone that needs it.
Thank you. And if you can maybe share those slides, maybe I can send it to the folks, so that would be great as well.
For sure. I'll download it and I'll send it to you in an email.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. I was just going to ask for that because the information there, I could see many points I wanted to utilize, but
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. There is another question by Hassan. What do they mean by Canadian experience?
So Canadian experience essentially means that you've done a job in Canada. Yeah, I don't know how much more layman to make that, but essentially that, you've been hired as an employee for either a Canadian company or in Canada. So overseas experience would be outside of Canada, but anything like in Canada would be deemed Canadian experience.
And how relevant is that nowadays? Because now, there being a global village, and companies being global as well, for example, I know Ahmed has worked, for Cisco, Nokia. I mean, they have, offices in Canada and all over the world. So having worked overseas in those companies, it should kind of translate, in my opinion, towards Canadian experience as well.
And you know what?
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I agree. It should translate. Unfortunately, because of the bias in the workforce, a lot of the times it doesn't. And we see that most often in the Indian market, which is what I've noticed. You have the PwC, the KPMG, the EYs in India. And a lot of the times, as soon as hiring managers or recruiters don't see Canada or like Toronto, they'll be like, oh, they might look at it and not take it as seriously, even though that's completely wrong. Like you said, Ramsey, if you've worked at a company like TELUS or like Nokia or Microsoft in another country, like highlight that, make sure that you are able to articulate to whoever's interviewing what the culture was like there, what your day-to-day was. Like, don't discredit just because, again, it wasn't out of a Canadian or US office that the work was not as impactful, because it definitely was.
Yeah. Okay.
And I every one of us has unconscious bias. So sometimes it's better if you just, avoid, putting those outside countries, because they may, trigger something.
Yeah.
So I personally recommend that, remove anything that is outside of Canada. You don't need to lie, but, just don't put it in the resume.
I was the one a few years ago. I said take it off, because again, at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter. And if it does, then you'll figure that out later. But again, if you've worked for a reputable company, just write the company, because it's still the same company.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mauricio, you have a question? Maybe we can end up with that question. Mauricio, go ahead.
Yes, I have one more quick question.
Yeah, of course.
Eleni, would you have any advice on like one-way video interviews? Because I've taken, some of them, a few of them, and it feels so awkward, talking to yourself on the phone. So not having a person to talk to in the background. So would you have any specific advice for that specific format of interview?
For sure. So first and foremost, if it is an interview, if it is a video interview, feel comfortable beforehand to ask, are they going to be on interview or on video as well? Because again, it is a bit nerve-wracking if you're just like looking at a screen, just talking to yourself. So mentally being prepared for that, knowing that they're not going to be there, again, will already kind of calm any unrested nerves, or hopefully make you a bit more comfortable. But honestly, this sounds terrible, but most of the time I'm more comfortable doing an interview when I'm not looking at anybody, because you don't have the nerve of someone's staring at you, you know they're looking at you, but once you kind of get into the flow of things, you become kind of more relaxed and more comfortable. One thing I would say is always be aware of your body language. Often if you can't see someone, you forget that they can see you. So maybe you'll sit back like this or put your hand on your head or lean forward in. So make sure that even though you're the only one on camera, you're keeping cognizant of your body language. And again, like I think practicing would be the best way. So get on a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams call or a FaceTime with someone that you know and start practicing again, being on video, talking and responding, but maybe not having somebody on the other end of the video as far as like their camera on.
Yeah, all right, thanks. Yes, I believe that format will become more popular.
For sure.
Now. Yeah, but that's really strange because you don't have feedback if the system or the camera is getting your message right. So having not receiving feedback sounds strange for me, but it's something we need to get used to. Yeah, definitely.
For sure. And I hope more companies implement the two-way video, because again, I've sat in on the one-way video, and I think again, why is it just not a phone call? But again, certain companies have their practices, so we have to respect them. There's one.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Eleni.
No, my pleasure. Okay, so what is your advice for applicants who are transitioning to SaaS biz roles with not technical backgrounds? Ahmed, could you further elaborate on that?
Yeah, Ahmed Khashanji, Kanji, if you wanna.
Yes. So what I was thinking, like, so for my case, I'm transitioning from management consultancy to tech sector, and I have no formal technical experience or technical background. So I wanted, how do I show in my resume the relevant experience to the hiring managers? Sure.
So what are you transitioning to? What's the role?
Yeah, so I've listed like product manager or project manager or business development. So I'm like exploring the relevant roles as well.
Okay, so my first bit of advice to you would be to pin down the roles that you're capable of doing. Again, like a product manager. Sorry, what were the other ones you said? You said a project manager, a developer, and what was the other one?
A business developer. I'm also kind of exploring the sales side as well, like a customer success manager or like a customer facing side as well. So how do I bring my business strategy background to the tech sector? So I'm still exploring that area.
For sure. So again, I think the most important thing again is to make sure that you're doing your research and to make sure whatever roles you are applying for, you've either done somewhat or your resume reflects that you might have some of the hard or soft skills that they're looking for. So if you don't have the technical skills, play on the soft skills. So a lot of job descriptions will have like 50% technical, and then the other are like the nice to haves, being like outgoing, being ambitious. It's really hard to, again, like you don't want to falsify experience that you don't have. But again, this kind of goes back to being open to accepting a little bit under salaries, 15%, I think I said, to get into more of the entry level roles. So if you came from management consulting and you're looking to go into a new vertical, which is SaaS, be okay that you're not going to go in at the level that you left your management consulting role at. You most likely will have to start either at an entry-level role or something a little bit lower down. Tech companies, I can just tell you, they're not going to hire people that don't have experience, especially when it comes to customer success or sales manager, unless you've done something similar to the role in the past. A lot of the times they will probably start you at an entry-level role to just see based off how much experience you have, if you can do the job, and if you are management material. So when you are switching verticals, I highly suggest going and researching resumes of other people. So I would literally type in like SaaS sales resume, because you could have some of those key points in your profile that you might not know because you just don't know. So look at other people's, compare them, get someone to review it. But again, it's really hard to kind of make that transition from one vertical to the next and from one role to the next. So I always say kind of keep it in your wheelhouse more than being ambitious and going after, let's say, a customer success manager role if you haven't done that in the past, because a lot of the times, unfortunately, the resumes will just get looked over.
Thank you, Eleni. So I think that's it. Hassan, do you still want to have an answer for how to overcome the Canadian experience, or are you good with what was shared?
So basically, thanks, really very helpful, but that's the frequent question basically I'm hearing because I'm coming from international software company, but sometimes the hiring manager or the recruiter, okay, they ask such a question, that's why I see this as a challenge. So just to overcome it, what is your recommendation or what is my strategy to, to overcome such a question?
Eleni, do you mind if I take
No,
this
no,
one?
go ahead, Ahmed, go.
Yeah, so for me, I was in your place, Hassan, when I came, and Canadian experience for me is not only work. It's bigger than that. Sometimes it's about communication, how to make rapport, how to really communicate, how to be understandable, and leverage that relationship. This is what they really want to make sure that you're a fit. You can communicate with people, you can understand their requirements, understand their tasks, and be able to deliver on. So if that is not obvious in your resume, is not obvious in your interview, is not obvious in your discussions, it's gonna be clear that you don't have that Canadian experience to them. And it could be as simple as if they tell you a loony, for example. I didn't know what's a loony at the beginning. So it could be as simple as that. And like the took. I didn't know what's a took when I came to Canada, and then I learned those verbiage afterwards. So again, it's a big word, Canadian experience, that sometimes it makes us look like the chicken and the egg. Should we get the job first or get the Canadian experience first? But sometimes it's much simpler. It's just like about how to really put yourself with people who speak English and understand Timmy's and other things. Understand about Canada Day, Eastern, provinces and other things. It could be just general knowledge as well. So, Eleni, you're the expert. I'm just give my perception.
That's all so valid. And another thing I will add to that, this probably won't happen, but there could be the off chance. If the recruiter does say, we're looking for someone with Canadian experience, because again, some of them don't have that kind of etiquette, ask them what that means like for them or what that looks like. And also feel free, because again, you're beginning your job search, feel free to ask at any point of the interview process. I would probably say if you do get a rejection, ask, did my lack of Canadian experience have any implication, or was that taken into any consideration? They obviously should say no, but some of them might say yes. And any little piece of kind of like a tidbit into the minds behind recruiters or interviewers, again, like I said, it will help you in the next one. So don't say it disrespectfully, obviously. Just say thank you so much for providing feedback. One last thing that I wanted to know, again, because I am new to Canada, was my lack of Canadian experience weighed or taken into consideration? And if they're honest, then probably they'll say, to be honest, yes, it was taken into consideration. We're non-biased and we hold everyone's experience the same. But if they are good recruiters, they will say, we were looking for someone that was a little bit more skilled or well-rounded in the Canadian market because of what our needs are. And again, then that will just help you on what you need to learn and what further research that you have to do.
Is it fair to ask for a feedback, let's say, from the hiring manager? Why did you disqualify me, or why you did not choose me? Is it a fair or reasonable ask to raise?
100%. And I think it's all about how you ask it and when you ask it. So this is something, and it's so funny because I think it's more of maybe a millennial thing or my generation, but I'll do a pre-screen call, and at the end of that 30-minute call, they say, so can you just give me some feedback on how you feel like I did? We hadn't even got off the phone yet. So don't be eager like that. Definitely let it marinate. If you do get a rejection, please do ask for feedback. And again, as a recruiter, it's our responsibility to be able to disclose and give you the feedback on why we didn't go ahead with you. So if they just simply say we went on with a different candidate, you can ask again, send another email, because I'm interviewing and because I want to heighten my skills, or do better in my future interviews? Could you give me a little bit more in-depth feedback? 100% ask. You've given them your time, and the least they can do respectfully is to kind of give you that feedback. But again, it's all about when to ask for feedback as well. So I think to ask the hiring managers for feedback, I think that would probably be a little bit later on in the interview stage. So say you do the pre-screen with the recruiter, then you have a call with the hiring manager, then normally you'll have like a team call or maybe an assignment. And then I would feel comfortable after that and after you've gone through all of the steps to ask or where you sit in the ranking of the other candidates that they're currently interviewing. So definitely it's okay to ask for feedback. But again, just make sure that it's in an appropriate and respectful way.
And sometimes I got one answer, you are not the best fit. So best fit, it's a general word, you know?
Yes.
It's not specific, right? So do you think, am I allowed to ask what do you mean by best fit, or that's the answer I should expect from them sometimes?
Yeah, and you know what? Like I think all of the templates that most recruiters send out, they'll say, "Thank you so much for your time. We appreciated your time. Even though your skill set was impressive, we've decided to go with a candidate that's a better fit for the role." And if you get that response, feel free to respond back saying, "Hi, thank you so much for the feedback. Again, to better my interviewing skills or to give me some insight or feedback, can you describe to me what the ideal fit was and what I was lacking?" So again, feel entitled as a candidate to ask for that feedback, because the only way that you're going to get better is through feedback. So definitely I'd feel comfortable if anyone asked me that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. And that's the beauty of Canada. Like, you know, this is the culture that we live here, and you know, that's why we're here today.
For sure.
Thanks. So I guess, you know, we're already 30 minutes above, but it's all great. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is really awesome. I know that maybe some people wants to say more, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
Yeah. We could have went for another 30 minutes, Ahmed.
Yes. Yeah, I want to, you know, give Eleni also a chance to enjoy her Sunday too. So thanks everybody, and thanks Eleni. Really, really thank you so much for all the wisdom, all the energy, everything that you shared today is definitely, I learned a lot personally. Thank you so much. And you know, if you have any final words before we end up here, please go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, my final words would just be, I'm the daughter of two immigrants. Both my parents and my grandparents are. And if I can do anything to help or facilitate or guide anyone through kind of the interview process or getting a job, I'm more than happy to. And then, yeah, my final words, don't sell yourself short. Be confident in who you are. Know your worth. Do your research. And again, just be optimistic, because Canada is an amazing country. We have so many great companies to work for, and hopefully everyone lands a job in the next 6 months.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eleni.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.